Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Zoom webinar forum for the general candidates for the 2025 to 2028 Kitsap County Commissioner Districts, both number 1 and number 2. And this is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Kitsap County. I am Riley Abel, and on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Kitsap County, I want to welcome you to this virtual forum. The League of Women Voters is proud to be a nonpartisan organization, and we do not support or oppose candidates or political parties. However, after careful study and consensus by our members, the League does take positions on issues, and we take action on those positions at the local, state, and national level. Our League is a membership organization, and it depends on our members to organize and run events like this. So we invite and encourage both women and men to become members and help us support our candidate forums, because our basic belief that our form of government depends completely upon the informed and active participation of its citizens relies on forums like these. The League envisions a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. But before we begin, the League would like to acknowledge that our homes and gathering places in present-day Kitsap County are within the ancestral territories of both the Suquamish and S'Klallam tribes, who have lived in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea for thousands of years. Here, the Suquamish and the S'Klallam have lived and protected the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855 and by the Point No Point Treaty, also in 1855. So I want to talk a little bit about how this forum is going to be formatted. Our questions for today's forums were sourced from the community through the League of Women Voters website. So our candidates will be asked questions that cover a range of topics and issues pertinent to Kitsap County and the 1st and 2nd districts. The candidates running in Kitsap County's commissioner race are, for District 1, we have Christine Rolfes, the incumbent, and Scott Henden. In District 2, we have Sean Murphy, Oran Root, and Darryl Riley, who is running as a write-in candidate. Oran Root and Sean Murphy were invited, but they did not attend. I want it to be clear that Darryl Riley will be answering the same questions as Christine Rolfes and Scott Henden, but they are not running against each other. So I want to thank all of you candidates for offering your skills and talents in service to our community. You deserve our respects and each other's. So please remember that this is a forum and not a debate. So we ask you to please respond specifically to the provided questions and remain civil to each other. So we had a brief talk about tonight's format before we went live, but I'd like to repeat how it's going to go for the viewers. Each of the candidates will have 90 seconds to make an opening statement. After that, for every question, each candidate will be given 60 seconds to respond. We're going to start with the order that their names appear on the ballot, and then we'll rotate who answers first with every question. Please be conscious of the viewers and do not go over 60 seconds. If you run out of time, you may finish your sentence. And if you finish responding to a question before the 60 seconds are up, you are absolutely welcome to use your remaining time to address a previous question or to clarify a statement. And then at the end of the forum, each candidate will have 90 seconds to provide a closing statement. Our timekeeper today is Candy Rankin, and Candy will be providing a electronic clock that will keep everyone started. So let's get started. In the order that the candidates who are present appear on the ballot is Christine Rolfes, Scott Henden, and then Darryl Riley. And so, of course, Darryl Riley as a write-in candidate won't appear, but is a write-in candidate. So we'll use that order and rotate with each question. So Christine, let's start with you and a 90-second opening statement, please.
Okay, I just want to make sure we unmute ourselves. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Christine Rolfes. Thank you for joining us today. I'm currently the County Commissioner in District 1, having been appointed to that position in June of 2023. Before assuming this new job, I served the people of North and Central Kitsap County, including parts of Bremerton, in the state legislature for almost 17 years. For the last 6 years of that service, I was the chair of the Senate Ways and Means Committee, responsible for leading development of the state's $60 billion budget. And one of my accomplishments was to get the legislature out of Olympia on time with a balanced budget for 5 years in a row, a record that hadn't been achieved since the 1800s. For the past year, I have brought to the Board of Commissioners my extensive knowledge of the issues important to Kitsap residents, coupled with my experience in government service. I've also learned a lot from county staff, community leaders, and engaged residents. I see enhanced public safety, a strong economy, a more accessible healthcare system, housing diversity and affordability, and protection of our environment and remaining open spaces as critical issues facing the county. I'm looking forward to an engaged discussion here this evening and thank the League for hosting us all.
Thank you, Christine. So we had some technical difficulties with Scott's video, which is why you're seeing a blank space for that. But Scott, would you please give a 90-second opening statement?
Yeah, good evening. I'm Scott Henden. Thank you for this opportunity to speak, and the League of Women Voters putting it together. Been a Kitsap County resident for 61 years. I've raised my 4 great children here. I've owned and operated Henden Electric for 40 years in Kitsap County. Been involved in boys wrestling, baseball, was a member and volunteer for Habitat for Humanity. Have been a Little League coach, youth director for a church, or youth leader. So I've been involved in the community in a lot of different ways. I think that what drives me to run is I think that my experience and my activity is better. It may not have been in the millions that you deal with in the state, but it's been my money. And I had to be successful in that. I had to have profit and loss statements show, did I reach my goals or did I not? If it's just about good talk and business, you go out of business. And so what I would like to bring to the county is the ability to get things done. Things like the Hood Canal Bridge, it's been put on back hold for 25 years. Kingston ferry traffic, the ferries that are doing terribly because of the lack of boats. And there's so many issues. The Point No Point Park has been closed for a year and a half.
Right, thank you, Scott. There's your time.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see if we can come with a behind the scenes solution to this, but we're going to proceed as at present. So Darryl, would you are muted at the moment, Darryl, just so you know. You have 90 seconds to give an opening statement.
Good evening. I'm businessman and entrepreneur Darryl Riley, and I'm honored to be here before you as a serious write-in candidate for Kitsap County Commissioner District 2. I want to thank you to the League of Women Voters for allowing me to participate, and welcome to all the other participants. I decided to run for this position to give everyone in the county a viable and more qualified option than the other 2 gentlemen who are in the race who chose not to appear today. I own 3 businesses here, and I hold the distinction of being the only Black franchise owner in this county. My client base spans the entire county, and I champion small business and economic development. I'm also the nonprofit co-founder of UFSI.org, dedicated to empowering youth through financial literacy and education, where we've educated over 250 youth to date, and they all receive $200 checking and savings accounts upon completion of our programs. Our platforms and programs have been supported and intended by the entire county. I served 6 years on the City of Bremerton's Audit Committee and 30 months on the Bremerton Racial Equity Advisory Committee. I'm also chairperson of the Asset Building Coalition of Kitsap County, and I'm proud to say that my first act as chairperson is to help secure $1 million in funds for the community, with over $900,000 of that going to direct services to community members. My experience in managing this coalition not only showcases my commitment to upward mobility, but also my ability to work collaboratively across different spaces. Therefore, I'm confident that I'm the best and most qualified person to serve as the next District County Commissioner of District 2. You can read about us on our platform at writeinriley.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Darryl. We're now going to move on to the next portion of our forum, where we will be asking specific questions about Kitsap County. So Scott, this starts with you. The question is, what are your top priorities for the first year of this term, and what would you like to have accomplished by the time it is finished?
I think my top priority is public safety. Currently, by the sheriff's own report, crime is up in almost every category. Vehicle assault, just across the board, crime is up. We're down on deputies, and it may be a hard thing to do, but I think if we're not safe, and I don't think that we are, and my personal experience leads me to that we have to do better in supporting our sheriff. Certainly beyond that, I'm concerned about jobs, being a job-friendly county. I don't believe we are from my experience of 40 years. I think that we have to do better in our road situation in coordination with the state and federal officials to get the roads we need. Affordability of housing is a huge issue. Hopefully we can talk more about that. Thank you.
Darryl, how about you? The same question. And at any point, if any of the candidates would like me to repeat the question, I would be happy to do so.
I was going to ask, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, Darryl, what are your top priorities for the first year of this term, and what would you like to have accomplished by the time it is finished?
Of course. Because of the situation we find ourselves in, we have a long-standing commissioner who we pay homage to. Commissioner Garrido has been in this seat for a long time. Whoever wins this race would have to come in and learn the job and meet people, because things have changed. I don't think in the first year it'd be realistic to walk in with a whole lot of grandiose ideas about changes and things that are going to be made. So I think the top priority is to meet people, to assess the needs of the community, to find out what their issues are in South Kitsap. Because from what I gather in talking to people, they don't feel heard or seen as much as they would like to. So for me, if I was to win the election, I would definitely reach out to a lot of community members, have a lot of meetings, and assess what they think I should be doing or what their important issues are. I have my own thoughts, but that would be a goal of mine in the first year, to make sure I collaborate with the community members of District 2.
Thank you very much, Darryl. Christine, the same question to you.
Sure. So for the first year of the term, I would continue the work that I've been doing over the last year. I've had a little bit of a head start getting to know people, getting out into the community and meeting with folks. Some of the things we have going on that I'd like to see finished in the first term and finished by the end of the fourth are the realignment of traffic in and out of the ferry terminal in Kingston, as well as the new boarding pass system, the automated boarding pass system in Kingston. So realignment and reconstruction of the Kingston ferry terminal traffic. I would like to see that big headway made on that next year. I'd also like to see us move forward with our comprehensive plan, and some of the work that will follow up, that we'll be following up on. That would be design standards for Silverdale and environmental regulations that help us to create density in our urban areas while protecting the quality of life. And then public safety, of course, others have mentioned it. I'd like to see us continue our successful reentry programs.
Thank you very much, Christine. I'd like to do a follow-up question, because some of you have spoken already about about making sure that everybody in Kitsap population is heard. So I did some quick math, and it seems like nearly 2/3 of Kitsap's population lives outside of city limits. So how would you, as a commissioner, ensure that people living in unincorporated areas are still having their voices heard? And Darryl, you will be the one to answer this question first.
Well, I think when you meet people, it's best to meet them face to face. I think a lot of people just want to feel like they're part of the government. So for me, I would make an intentional effort to get to those spaces, to plan a couple of coffee shop meetings with the community. This would be different for everyone in District 2, because they've had a long-standing commission. So we'd have to take care and concern with these people and understand that a lot of their points are valid. You have people who've been here way before me, who have way more invested in this community before I got here. And it's important that we find those people who live in unincorporated Kitsap, because those are primarily the people who we've been hearing aren't being heard. So for me, I would just do my best to wrap my arms around and find out through county records, if necessary, who those people are, and make a concerted and intentional effort to reach out to them.
Thank you, Darryl. Christine, the same question to you.
Yes, thank you. So the question was how we would make sure the voices of people in unincorporated Kitsap County are heard. And I would pledge I will continue to do the work I've been doing over the last year, which is organizing town halls, participating in neighborhood meetings, and participating wherever invited to speak to groups of people. In the year that I've been here, we've had town hall style meetings in Indianola related to traffic, in Kingston, in Hansville related to all things Hansville, in Keyport with the Keyport Community Improvement Club, throughout the county. We also, in our county, we have 4 citizen advisory councils that are set up in Manchester, Silverdale, Suquamish, and Kingston. And those are avenues once a month for folks from different parts of the county to come together, learn more about county government, give feedback, and really provide a good link between county government and folks living in unincorporated areas. So I would continue all that work.
Thank you, Christine. So Scott, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay.
Okay, let's hear it.
You know, I'm from rural Kitsap County. I've lived here 61 years. I went through high school with so many of these people. My kids went through high school and sports and little league and wrestling and all of these things. Daily in my business, I have contact with people that you normally don't get in a meeting. Now, having a public meeting is good as long as it's not a contrived one that's very controlled and they don't really get answers to their questions. I went to the commissioners meeting in Kingston and I think it fell far short of giving the answers that were appropriate and right for that. But I've also done things like been in the farmers market where you sit and you just meet people. There's a formal way to do this, and there's also kind of informal way where I'm in Home Depot and I see people that I know and they're saying, gee, Scott, what's going on with this? So I think both can work, but I would say that I'm already there.
Thank you, Scott. Let's move on to a very specific policy question. And for this one, we will start with Christine. Washington's Growth Management Act mandates a county comprehensive plan for 20 years of development to take place at least every 10 years. This year, the county is updating its comprehensive plan, and there has been plenty of public comment. If you were currently serving as commissioner, and I know that you are, Christine, what would your priorities and concerns be with the current plan?
The current plan is expected to be adopted by the commissioners before the end of the year. The main concern that I have had is how we're going to accommodate the 75,000 or so additional people in the next 20 years that the state is telling us we have to plan for. So my biggest concern right now is how we accommodate all those people while protecting what we like about living in Kitsap County. A part of the solution that we have come up with is holding the line on our urban growth areas and creating incentives and zoning that will allow more people to live in existing urban areas, whether that's the city of Bremerton, Port Orchard, Bainbridge, or Paulsbo, or areas like Kingston and Silverdale. And while we're creating that focus density, how we're going to get things like transit, water, sewer, et cetera, to those populations. So balancing the growth with the services and quality of life we expect is the biggest challenge.
Thank you very much, Christine. Scott, the same question to you.
So 25 years ago when I ran for commissioner against Chris Andreessen espoused that prices should come down in housing because we are grouping these. And one of my major concerns is the affordability issue. We are becoming, or maybe already are, a county of haves and haves not. Can you afford the medium price house at $550,000, or are you really forced into renting an apartment someplace? Now, of course, there needs to be some balance there, but we also need more lots. Until we develop the lots, get rid of regulation that we keep putting on people, fix the broken permitting system, we are not going to have that. And so my biggest concern with growth management, which the people first opposed, but it's done a terrible thing to us, is affordability.
Thank you, Scott. Darryl, the same question to you.
Well, I'll speak in particular from the lens of not necessarily a South Kitsap resident, but a District 2 person running for commissioner. What the plan I have seen yet to take into account for South Kitsap is if you bring in all of these people, where are they going to go to school? We have a problem with South Kitsap being overcrowded. So if you're going to bring in more people, we have to figure out how to get a bond passed so we can at least improve that school, which has been in place since 1921. I also understand that we have a major problem that connects all areas, and that's what I like to refer to as the Gorse Gauntlet, where it's pretty much a crapshoot driving through there for anybody. It doesn't matter how experienced of a driver you are. And I would like to see that connected through the state, the federal government, and all the districts in the county to find a solution to that, because that's going to be a headache if we can't figure that out together.
Thank you, Darryl. I'd like to give everybody a chance to sort of follow up because you all had a lot to say about infrastructure. So let me ask you essentially the same thing, but phrased slightly differently. Across Kitsap, population has been steadily increasing since 2010 and is expected to increase over the next 20 years. How will you encourage economic development in Kitsap and improve the infrastructure to support that potential growth? So that will start with Scott.
Business wants to know, just like we personally want to know, do you care about me? I hear this so often in my business because I'm dealing with people going through the permitting process. And I think the feeling is the county really doesn't care. They don't want to support them. We're also at a disadvantage on some level because we're not on the I-5 corridor, which would be many good businesses would use. Now, the best business for Kitsap County are the kind that come here, hire good employees and high-skilled workers, and then sell the product outside of the county, because that brings us money into the county. But, I would be in favor of doing something like an ombudsman, where we actually, when a person has problems, they could do that. I'd be in favor of looking at paying for their bridge fee. But more than anything, the most important thing is they know that we're going to be fair and timely with them.
Thank you very much, Scott. Darryl, the same question.
Well, of course, we know the county is bursting at the seams, and in order to support economic mobility and, improve infrastructure, we also got to understand that this country was built and founded on small businesses. And I think we should take a stronger approach and start giving just as many incentives as we give to these developers and these large box companies. Find ways to invest in our smaller businesses so that they can continue to thrive. And then that way you build infrastructure internally and it kind of sprouts out. I mean, for them to think that the county commissioner's office can figure all of this out alone, it's just going to take a concerted effort in how we move. And with small businesses, myself, a small business owner, understanding that we're the cornerstone of the community. So I think finding ways to support small businesses will give them a more of an incentive to be involved in the process as well, because a lot of them are subject matter experts.
Thank you, Darryl. And Christine, will you finish the question?
Sure. I'm going to agree with both Scott and Darryl on the importance of the county government being small business friendly. And in the year that I've been in the county government, we have started deep reforms in the planning department related to building code reforms and the building and planning permitting process. Hopefully those will go into place in January, and with better customer service and responsiveness, things will start to feel better. We've also been looking at how the county is enforcing codes. We want to make sure the rules are followed, but the manner and the tone in which the enforcement happens is an issue too. So just better customer service, helping small businesses get through all the hurdles of state and local government regulations of key importance. But another big thing that hasn't been said yet is workforce development and making sure we're supportive of Olympic College and Western Washington's expansion, particularly on the north end of the county, to have a skilled workforce.
Thank you, Christine. Darryl, you'll start with this next question. The natural environment is important to Kitsap County residents. What actions are needed to conserve that environment, and what is the county's role in protecting it? Darryl, you're muted at this point.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I don't, just like most of the other issues, I don't think it's primarily on the county officials to figure out. I think these are deeper and larger conversations with people who have a much more, who are smarter than me in most cases to figure out what to do with those green spaces and how to effectively build without disturbing natural habitat as much as possible. What makes this place is so beautiful is the greenery and the scenery and the ambience that brings. So I think the county has a role. Yeah, I think the county has a role, but this community belongs to all of us. So how can we get more voices in the table? Like Scott McClendon said, just meeting people in different spaces and asking those important questions and those direct questions, because a lot of people will offer you great ideas that are never thought of if we just ask the right questions. So I think including the community more, making a beeline from the community to the commissioner's office would be helpful in those strategies.
Thank you, Darryl. Christine, the same question to you.
Can you repeat the question, Riley?
Yeah, the natural environment is important to Kitsap County residents. What actions are needed to conserve that environment, and what is the county's role in protecting it?
Yeah, I think the county does play a pretty significant role. We have one of the best open space and park systems in the state. I mean, Port Gamble Park is the biggest, we think it's the biggest county park in the state. And so just using our parks and our open spaces, our publicly owned parks and open spaces, expanding them where we can to provide more access for more people, provides the ability for residents to get out into nature. The county has a role to play in using our own parks staff to help provide stewardship opportunities, volunteer opportunities in our parks, educational opportunities. Our Parks Department right now has really cool walks on a weekly and monthly basis, like take a walk with an expert through Newberry Hill Park, for example. Big role to play. We also play a significant role we can in water quality, whether that's stormwater and helping property owners understand what's toxic and not toxic to use in your lawns, what to do with your cars, et cetera. There's a lot of educational role that the county can play.
Thank you, Christine. And then Scott, the same question.
So in many ways, the county has already done a great deal. And you start talking about development, controlling runoff, providing buffers, and those kind of things. Things have changed pretty dramatically in the last 35 to 40 years. And them have been good things. The parks that we've bought, in the last 30 to 40 years, Port Gamble, Miller Bay, we have places like Gold Mountain and Green Mountain, and we just have a lot of recreation opportunities that also provide habitat. They also provide things to just people to go out and enjoy, which are good. But we also have challenges of, okay, how do we manage that and still have affordability? How do we say, okay, we're going to have some compromises here, and we're going to have to make some choices. Do we want to do that or not? But so far, I'd say the county has done a great deal to protect the environment.
Okay, thank you very much, Scott. So let's talk about funding for the county. Impact fees and property taxes are very important resources or sources of income for the county's infrastructure budget. Do you think our current fees and taxes are sufficient, or should they be increased or decreased? And Christine, we'll start with you.
Right now, if we want to pay the current staff that the county has a fair market wage to retain the workforce that we have a long-term budget sustainability problem. Salaries have to keep up. We want them to keep up with cost of living and be competitive, and yet the revenue that comes into the county is capped at not increasing by more than 1% in property taxes, and our sales tax revenue is fairly flat, projected to be fairly flat. So if we continue to do business as usual, we have a revenue or a spending problem, but we don't need to continue to do business as usual. And that's part of the budget discussions we're having right now is if paying our staff a fair and competitive salary is our #1 priority, then how do we do things more efficiently and smartly? And if we need to raise taxes, if we need to raise fees, we need to ask the people if they're willing to support that.
Thank you, Christine. Scott, that's the same question to you.
Sure. So I'm opposed to new taxes. And we should understand something about impact fees. When I was on the school board, impact fees had to be used for future growth. Schools are in decline, and really what we ended up doing was buying portables and really not even being able to use the money. With these new impact fees, also we're gaining revenue though, because the new buildings and the new structures can be taxed at the higher rate. They're not bound to that 1%. So all the time we are gaining properties that can be taxed for more than they are right now. I think we have a problem with metrics, and that we need to look at what are we getting for what are we spending. Metrics. The other thing is, in like the DCD, we have $10 to $11 million in excess funds and have carried it over year after year, and we still don't seem to be paying our people right. Well, that doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you, Scott. And Darryl, the same question.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, impact fees and property taxes are important sources of income for the country's the county's, infrastructure budget. Do you think our current fees and taxes are sufficient, or should they be increased or decreased?
Well, I kind of disagree with both these people on two different points. With Mr. Henden, if I'm pronouncing his name right, metrics are important because we charge taxes based upon how much the property's worth. And we have these properties going up in value. And a lot of them, in some cases, aren't worth the value they're being assessed at, but they are assessed at that higher property tax. They assess that higher property tax because it's worth more money. So we got to look at the metrics and see how to make a finer balance between that. As far as licenses and fees, I just looked at the budget book for the last 2 days, and it doesn't seem like a whole lot of revenue is actually coming in from there. So if you would ask me, am I opposed to higher taxes and higher fees? This is where I would side with Commissioner Rolfes. We would probably have to see what the community says. I'm big on that, checking with the community and checking the temperature of the community to find out what they think is important and would be effective.
Thank you very much, Darryl. Okay, let's do one last question and then move on to closing statements. So as county commissioner, how would you interact with state level government, and how would you advocate for Kitsap County? Scott, that question is for you.
Well, there's many things that the county is not going to pay for. We do have a $557 million budget. So we're spending quite a bit of money here. But certainly the county, my first goal would always be to contact legislators or federal officials and say, we have a problem, just like the Navy Yard Highway and going into Gorst. I like the Gorst Gauntlet comment, Darryl. I might use that some. But we have to be able to say, okay, how do we work with these people? How does everybody win? How does everybody come out, let's say, call it looking good or whatever? But I haven't seen that. I mean, the commissioner now, Rolfes, has been in the state for 17 years. Why are so many of these state projects been languishing and really had no conversations with the public about what is going on and when are we going to move these forward? When are we going to do Gorst? When are we going to do the Hood Canal? When is Kingston actually going to happen?
Thank you, Scott. Darryl, the same question to you.
Well, when I think about some of the things that have been done in connection with the federal government and the state government, like the grants for affordable housing at Mills Crossing, the new youth teen affordable housing center, that took a collaborative effort of different agencies. It's not just the county going and tap in with legislation, because all business is revolved around relationships. And you have to build those relationships and you have to have those conversations. And just like Mr. Henden said, you have to reach out and discuss your issues and put those issues on the table. I'm not saying that hasn't been done, but I know when I've seen collaborative efforts between county agencies and city agencies and state agencies, we tend to have more traction. Kitsap County is carried in high priority in the spaces that I've been in. So it's not like we probably have not because we asked not. And I would be finding actionable items and ways to ask for those things to happen.
Thank you, Darryl. And Christine, can you round us out with the answer to that question?
The to follow up on what Darryl was saying, it's all about collaboration. It's all about relationships and having legislators understand what the local priorities are and working as a team to get those priorities through the state for state support. A number of the housing programs that or projects that Darryl referenced were a collaboration between local nonprofits, state government, and county government. In terms of transportation projects and the role of that, if anybody has driven down Highway 305, you can in the last year, you can clearly see the results of local and state collaboration with the different construction projects along the way there. Similarly, if you've been in downtown Kingston, you can see vacant buildings near the ferry terminal. The right of way is being purchased in order to do realignment there over the next few years. We're receiving 700 acres from the Department of Natural Resources in Eglon to become county park. The partnerships are there, and they're relying on the community as well as elected leaders at all levels.
Thank you, Christine, very much. And so before our candidates have this opportunity to make a closing statement, I'd like to let you know that these forums are recorded and links to the videos are going to be available on our website, which is www.lwv#Kitsap, and they're available on YouTube as well. If you just Google LWV Kitsap, you'll find it. So speaking of our website, please come check it out. We recently updated it and we're really proud of it. So check it out and tell your friends. So now I'd like to give 90 seconds to each candidate to say whatever they want to say about themselves to round this out. So once again, we have two candidates here from District 1. That's Christine Rolfes and Scott Henden. And then we have one candidate of the three from District 2, and that's Darryl Riley, who is a write-in candidate this time. The other two candidates were unavailable to appear at this. So let's start based on our order. That's Darryl, you're the first to give your closing statement.
Okay. Well, thank you to the League of Women Voters for the opportunity. You know, the pessimistic people tell me that Kitsap voters are lazy and that they won't take the time to write in someone, and that it's never been done before, and that it's a waste of time, and that it's a waste of resources. But the optimist in me chooses not to believe any of that, because I know Kitsap voters are smart, they're passionate about their community, and even though we dropped the ball in the primary, we can't just give it away to obstructionism. You know, South Kitsap voters, they seem unsure if they will matter going forward from the ones I talk to. They feel unheard, and I intend to bridge that gap. You know, my experience in managing business, nonprofits, community organizations, that showcases my effective leadership. I believe in fiscal responsibility, transparency, and community engagement. And those values resonate with both conservative and progressive constituents. My approach to work, or any work, is passionate and direct. And my mom taught me that just because you disagree doesn't mean we have to be disagreeable. So I'm asking that you write in Darryl Riley for Kitsap County Commissioner District 2, because I'm clearly the most qualified candidate to provide professional and effective governance moving forward. You can please visit our website at rileyandriley.com. And if you'd like to talk more, you can reach out to me at writeinriley@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Darryl. Christine, you'll be next for your closing statement.
Well, I want to start by thanking the League for organizing this and thanking Scott and Darryl for showing up to talk about important issues and hear some of the questions that people in our community have posed. It's nice to have civil discussions and forums like this to be able to share our ideas. My husband Leonard and I moved here over 30 years ago when we first got married. I was a young environmental planner for the county, and I have been committed to community service in our area for the last 30 years. We raised our kids here. I was active in their organizations, active in our church, in their schools, etc. But my passion in our community has really been providing amazing, transparent, responsive, democratic leadership, whether at the local level or at the state level. I am proud of what Kitsap County is today. The background that I have behind me is Guillemot Cove, which is a county park that I helped purchase in the early 90s when I was a young planner. I am excited about being in a position today where I'm helping to steer how the county is going to grow in the future and how we're going to meet the needs of everybody who lives here and the people that we want to live here, including our children and our grandchildren. So I thank you for the opportunity to be on the ballot this year. I hope that I will have the votes of folks watching, and it's been my honor to serve as your county commissioner for the past year.
Thank you, Christine. Scott, your closing statement, please.
Thank you again for this opportunity. I'm going to touch on something that hasn't been talked about. It's the workforce development. I don't know if Commissioner Rolfes understands the tremendous damage that she and her cohorts did at the state on the apprenticeship programs. I've been in the industry for 40 years. I know what I'm talking about. I have laid off apprentices because of the new regulations that they put in place. It's done a terrible thing. I'd like to talk about Point No Point. It's been closed for a year and a half because somebody couldn't figure out how to put the sandbags 2 feet off the road instead of into the road. It sat that way, so all summer long, this and last one, it has not been accessible. I'm not opposed to the development of plants or things that we can bring in to make the point better, but it's a tragedy that it's been closed for this long. I'm tired of the crime continuing to go up without penalty. There's a lot of issues involved there, but we need more deputies. If you want that, you need to vote for me. I understand the job situation better than anyone here because I know it from the ground up. I see the damage done. I talk to people on a weekly basis about how hard it is to be in business in Kitsap County. The bottom line is, if you want to get stuff done, you want something to move forward, you need to vote for me. Thank you again.
Thank you, Scott. And thanks to every one of you candidates. We really appreciate your time and your energy. It's a lot to run for office at a local level. And so thank you all very much for doing what you're doing. Hopefully for voters, this has given you the information that you need to choose a candidate. So please remember that the ballots for this election, they're already out for military members and voters overseas or out-of-state voters, but all of the other ballots are going to be mailed out on October 18th. The League of Women Voters encourages voters to return their ballots as early as possible, because I forget, and if I don't do things early, I forget. That's just true for most people, and it just makes it so that we have more results early. So you can return your ballot by mail, or there are several ballot boxes listed on kitsapgov.com, or you can vote in person on November 2nd, 4th, and 5th at a voting center. If you hadn't registered to vote by now, you can also register to vote at those voting centers. Please encourage others to learn about their candidates by viewing this and other LWV forums, and especially encourage everybody that you know to vote. Candidates, you have the Kitsap County's League of Women Voters. Thanks for participating in this forum for this evening and for offering your expertise to Kitsap County. So thank you so much to you, to our audience, and to community members for participating in representative democracy by listening and providing thoughtful questions. Good night, and I just want to say it every time I get the chance to, don't forget to vote. Thank you, everybody.